in the main screen, there's nothing about PL1, PL2, or voltage in general. A lot of times just your fan settings on some motherboards are setting that. Now remember, I just have this set up with a standard fan. There's also performance and full speed. Sometimes there's even all-in-one, etc. You can see that CPU fan 1 is not even connected because we have an all-in-one pump, and that's why you're seeing all-in-one pump here. And if I go to advanced mode, which here is F6, but on other makes like ASUS and Gigabyte, I think it's F7, or you can just click the button. And we're going to go into our overclock tweaker. And if we look at CPU configuration, we're going to scroll down. Is it under here? Right here. Long duration. No, look, why can't they stick to PL1 and PL2 or long-term or short? Why do we have to keep throwing around 3 different terms to talk about the one term? So this is another thing, right? Why doesn't this simply say PL1 and this one say PL2? Why can't they even just put it in parentheses at the end of the sentence? You have to know what PL1 and PL2 are. They're the short-term and long-term power limits. And you can see the short term, the one that's just there for turbo, is 250, and the regular long duration is 125. You can see the 125 right there and the 250 right there. But watch what happens. If we just go to advanced mode, which is, I think, what most people would do because it's more user-friendly. Under CPU configuration, we can identify somewhere in here. Am I in the right place? I may not be in the right place. Hold on. Every BIOS is different, and I only did this last night for the first time. So it's likely under what? Let me go back. Chipset? No, it's in here. Let's go back again. Oh, it's right in front of my face. Power delivery profile. So Intel baseline mode is what I have overridden. But what I want you to see is there's an Intel default mode and an Intel baseline mode. Would anybody like to tell me the difference between baseline and default? Because we'll talk about interchangeable words. How is that not meaning the same thing? But I guarantee you they don't mean the same thing. This is adding more consumer confusion. And AsRock Extreme mode, look, if I select AsRock Extreme mode, then I go back to, yeah, I guess it's under overclock tweaker. We go specifically to CPU config. Is that where I found it? And let's see what it changed our PL1 and PL2. It hasn't changed it yet. We're still at 125 and 250. So I guess I have to save this for those changes to take effect. So let's save changes and exit. And then when it reboots, again, I'm going to start pressing delete. I'm going to go back into the BIOS. I want to check what PL1 and PL2 have been changed to using the Intel Extreme profile. So that's usually what it's referring to, is it's changing those PL1 and PL2s for you. And it's all on the AsRock board. It's all under the overclock tweaker in advanced. Like, you got to really dig in here. So advanced, overclock tweaker, CPU configuration, and let's see what it says now. Now it's 250 and 250. All right, 250 and 250. So there goes your power efficiency. That means when you're just sitting at the desktop and you've walked away for a few hours, that's sucking down 250 watts. Why? Why? What good reason does that have? I don't get it. Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Let's go back to power delivery profile. Let's choose first of all the Intel default mode, which I believe is how it came out of the box. Save changes and exit. Let's go and see what PL1 and PL2 are now. So here's where things get a little bizarre. I expect the Intel default mode to give me 125 and 250 on PL1 and PL2, as Intel recommends, as we've already verified. I don't expect AsRock to play by their own rules. Oh, and look what I've done. I have, it's not accepted my delete key to get into the BIOS, so we're going to boot into Windows, I guess. That's fine. We can boot into Windows and we can see PL1 and PL2 right now with hardware info. and we can see what they're set to. And you don't have to run Cinebench or anything. You can just go look at it here. It's going to read the settings. Sensors only is what I want. Close that. See, don't check for updates. Leave me alone. All right, let's scroll down here and look for PL1 and PL2. It's still set at 250 and 250. So it looks like the AsRock Extreme profile and the Intel default profile are exactly the same, like somebody screwed up. Now, there could be making some other changes besides that, I don't know, but that's one of the main ways that we're adjusting the profile, is just simply adjusting PL1 and PL2. But there could be some other adjustments in voltages there that I'm not paying attention to. So let's restart again. So 250 and 250 is too much. We're going to overheat almost immediately. In fact, let me just demonstrate. We'll do it right now. We'll bring up Cinebench, because this is going to happen quick. Right now, our cooler's fine. No problems. But the minute we start this test and I bring up the temperature range, I want you to take a look at our temps and watch how fast these temps go up. In particular, watch our maximum temps here on the right side. And this will be done within about 30 seconds before we see red. And believe me, when I say I'm seeing red, I mean that both figuratively and literally. Our temps in just a few seconds have already doubled from what they were before we started this test, which is nothing to be worried about yet. And again, if we look at PL1 at 250 and PL2 is 250, well, PL1's here, PL2's below it. We're less than 60 seconds into this test. This started with a timer of 10 minutes. And this is going to all turn red, and we're going to be in an overheating situation. Because 250 is supposed to be the turbo. You're not supposed to have turbo on at all times. That ain't going to be good for your gas mileage. Look, we're already climbed to 92. It's getting there. It's already thermal throttling, see here? And that's going to continue to grow. All right, and we've only gone into this 90 seconds before that all started. It's going to get worse. So what I want to do for right now, I think I've made my point because I want to keep moving on this. Let's close this out. And let's go back in the BIOS. And let's see what that other Intel power profile does. So I'll start, not yet. Now I start pressing delete. And hopefully that'll get me into the BIOS this time. Keep pressing delete over and over and over again. See if it gets me in there now. Very good. F6 to get me to advanced mode. Overclock tweaker, power delivery profile. Let's go to Intel baseline. Save and exit. So when we bring up Intel baseline, that fixes the heat problem, but at a cost of reducing our CPU performance significantly. So in that case, I could have just bought an Ultra 5 instead of an Ultra 7 if I'm going to get Ultra 5 performance. You know what I mean? Like, come on. So let me go. Oh, my chat crashed here. All right. So let me bring this down and let's bring up hardware info and let's see where our PL1 and PL2 have been set by the BIOS this time. Now PL1 is set to 125 where it should be. Oh, PL2 is still saying, oh, is that saying 250? That is the correct setting. I wonder if that's because I manually overrode it. I wonder if it's remembering the settings I put in under that profile. I'd have to reset the BIOS because this was saying, instead of 250, it was saying 177. And what that means is, yes, it dropped our temperatures by 35 degrees Celsius, and it also dropped our CPU performance by a third as well. So, not worth it. I want both the CPU performance I'm supposed to be getting using the PL1 and PL2 settings that Intel recommends, so I don't have to go overkill on my cooler or a bunch of fans just to make the thing run. And what regular computer user, even a computer hobbyist, would know to do this? So you're going to need to look in your ASUS BIOS and identify where the PL1 and PL2 settings are. You'll find them, and you could even probably Google for that particular motherboard. But if we run Cinebench now, just to give you an example that it is set correctly, and we run it for the 2 minutes, the same time as we did before, we hit 92 degrees within 2 minutes, right? A little over 90 seconds, I think we let it run. And we come back over here and we're watching this now. Watch what happens in the next 2 minutes by comparison without the degradation of performance and without the physical chip degradation of just constantly slamming it with turbo voltage, because that's going to take a hit over time on degrading the chip. You're going to wear it out. It's no different than, you know, revving your engine up in your car constantly and never letting it idle. You're going to wear that engine out sooner. So, you know, you got to pay the piper. You got to pick one. So we're looking for balance. And that's what PL1 and PL2 from Intel's default represent as balance. We're not looking to get the most extreme efficiency with no performance, hence Toyota Prius. We're not looking for the most performance, throwing away all efficiency, like a Chevy Corvette. We want a balance of performance and efficiency. So a regular consumer car that has a turbo, and that turbo kicks in when needed. And then when it's not needed, it doesn't run anymore. Like, you know, when you're at slower speeds, you're not passing anybody, you know, your engine is not working as hard, then you don't need to consume all that gas and have that turbo spin up. And we're into this now over a minute. Look at the temperature difference over here on the right side here. Look at this. It's massively different. And that's what's called normal. That's what's the default. That's the way it's supposed to run. Why would AsRock or ASUS default away from that? Motherboard reviewers need to start pointing out that if this board is performing better in their review, let's take a look at their PL1 and PL2 settings, and let's put them back to where Intel said they're supposed to be, and let's see if their board rates so well on the review. This is the responsibility of the reviewers, and if the reviewers are too ignorant to go and look for that, then the reviewer is going to tell you this board is better because it performed better. So if it were me, I'd recommend this board. Doesn't work that way. All boards should perform the same given the same RAM and CPU and SSD and power supply. They should all run exactly the same. If one board is running faster than another one, you got some due diligence to explain that. And that's for you to know as a viewer. Anytime you watch a content creator saying, wow, I recommend this board because it's faster. Now, if they're recommending the board because it has more I/O, more ports, what have you, other reasons, that's fine. But if they're saying that this board with all the same parts runs faster, that is suspicious as heck. What black magic has that board got that all the other boards don't? And it's pretty obvious when you go looking, they're sending too much voltage to the chip. They're cheating. And you, the consumer, you're paying for it. And the content creator may not know enough to even go look at that. Some content creators do, some don't. How do you know? Well, now you know, right? Watch for that. Okay, so I mean, we're already well into this now, 3.5 minutes, and look at our temps. What a difference. It's running the way Intel intended it to run. And what do you know? It runs really, really well. Who would have thunk? So I'm going to stop this first, then I can close it. Okay, that's the point I'm trying to make today. Let me close. Can I close that window? And let's get back over to camera 1. Okay, there I am. Are you finding this as shocking as I am? And now you're telling me ASUS is doing this too? So this isn't over yet. We still have to, I feel a moral duty to warn everybody in the community that if you're going to build a modern Intel board, you want to make sure you check those PL1 and PL2 settings in order to keep your system running nice and cool. So here's the thing. If I never ran Cinebench on this, and I left it the way it came out of the box, the way the motherboard was pre-configured, the BIOS was pre-configured, it was running nice and cool. It wasn't until I pressed it to actually do some hard work that the overheat began. So if you never press your computer hard, you likely will, this is a non-issue for you. But if you think, hey, I'd like to press my computer hard at some point in the future and not have to deal with this, well, you can nip it in the bud while you're building, or if you're just now made aware of it, if you have an Intel 13th or 14th gen or 15th gen CPU, whether it's Gigabyte, AsRock, ASUS, or MSI, check your PL1 and PL2 settings. And if the BIOS is too confusing for you, just run hardware info and read what it's reporting. Then Google the CPU you have, just as I demonstrated. I have a 265K. What are the PL1 and PL2 settings on a 265K? Google will tell you. Does that match what HWI or hardware info says? You're good to go, no worries. On the other hand, if your settings are 250 on PL1 and PL2, you still may have nothing to worry about unless you push that CPU hard, and you push it hard for a couple minutes. In my case, about 2 minutes, it gets over 100, and it registered 104, which is, it's going to cause a premature degradation of the silicon on the chip if it endures that kind of high temp over a sustained period of time. Once in a while is fine, you're not going to kill it. But if that's like the new normal, yeah, I hope you're planning on replacing that CPU within the next 2 years, because it may not even last that long. Or you can spend a lot of money on an over-the-top cooling system to deal with that. It's nothing you can't just throw money at, but you shouldn't have to. Believe me, I was doubting myself that I somehow put that cooler on wrong, or that adapter kit wasn't sitting properly, but that didn't explain those 30-degree idle temps. If you take that cooler off of there and idle it, that CPU is going to get 60, 70, 80 degrees without a cooler on it, just idling. So I knew the cooler was doing its job. And I thought, there's no way we're having the same problem. There's no way. We are. So I'm glad I checked. Glad I doubted myself in having faith in the manufacturers. All right, let's see. Taffer says they've got an i9 13900KF and their PL1 is at 153 and their PL2 is 253. So is that the recommended defaults, or that's where yours is set? Now, by the way, you can adjust those to suit your cooler. I don't have to choose 125 and 250. You saw how cool I was just running on Cinebench. I can go to, say, 175 and 250, maybe 255, maybe. And you can experiment around to find what's right for you. That's like overclocking. Like, I don't want to waste my time dealing with that nonsense. Just set it to the Intel defaults and be done with it. Intel defaults and motherboard defaults should be agreeing to what default means, the default. But they can't agree. And I don't give a rat's behind what AsRock or ASUS thinks. They don't make the chip, Intel does. And at the same time, I don't want to listen to Intel tell me about, you know, something non-Intel related on a motherboard they don't make. I want to listen to the manufacturer of the specific product. So if Intel makes the network card, I don't necessarily want the driver from the motherboard manufacturer. I want the driver from Intel, the company that makes the network card. See what I'm getting at? The manufacturer who makes each individual product, that's their specialty. That's what they know. And the motherboard manufacturer that takes all these other manufacturers and puts them all together on one mother of a board is supposed to be following the guidance of those manufacturers. And they might claim that they are. But then that would suggest that Intel's telling AsRock one thing and telling consumers another thing. Why would they do that? I know why AsRock would do it. AsRock will do it so their board appears to perform better to ignorant content creators who think that's a better board because it outperforms another manufacturer's board that's not setting the PL1 correctly. In this case, AsRock is doing this with intention. And if it weren't for YouTube, they probably wouldn't be doing it. Anything that will convince you to buy their product, no matter how sneaky they have to get. Intel doesn't have to be sneaky. The information's there. So Intel doesn't have any motivation to help AsRock sell motherboards, right? Any more than ASUS or Gigabyte or MSI. Of course, they want them to sell boards, but they're not going to have a favorite. They're just going to say, here's the information. So they wouldn't just tell them, hey, you should not obey our defaults, or we're going to set our defaults different for you so we'll help you sell more motherboards, just so we can burn up more chips and have us pay for all the warranty. See, it doesn't make any other sense other than they're trying to deceive the public, including the content creators that are influencing the public.